In a gaming market oversaturated by AAA disasters, it's nice to play a game created by a small group of people that really has a lot of heart put into it. There are so many small developers out there making fantastic games that just don't get the recognition they deserve, and so many people write them off as just other indie games. So, to prove to some people how amazing these games are, today we're going to be looking at the top 10 indie games on Steam. Papers, Please is a thrilling puzzle game developed by Lucas Pope where you play as just another citizen of Arstotzka, the greatest country in the world. The year is 1982, and thanks to the glorious October Labor Lottery, it's your turn to work as an immigration officer at a border checkpoint between Arstotzka and Grestin. Your job is to inspect people's passports, ID cards, and all other sorts of forms of identification. You have the option to either deny or approve a person's entrance to Arstotzka, and you make money for each person you let through. At the end of every day, you have to use your earnings to pay for necessities, including rent, heat, and food. If you choose not to pay for heat or food, your family will become cold or hungry. It certainly gets intense when you have to decide between buying medicine for your sick son or feeding them all for one more night. There are many things that can affect the outcome of your playthrough, including a strange anti-government organization or getting commission for having people arrested. All in all, Papers, Please is an amazing game that, for being developed by only one guy, certainly surpasses my expectations.
Glory to Arstotzka!
Cave Story, or Dokutsu Mono... Cave Story is a game originally released for free in 2004 on the PC. It was developed once again by one man, Daisuke... Jesus. Pixel is his name. Phew, thank God we got that out of the way. Cave Story is a Metroidvania-style platforming action-adventure game with graphics similar to those on the NES. The game centers on the main character who mysteriously wakes up in a cave. His goal is to defeat an evil guy known as the Doctor, who is trying to destroy the Amiga race. As the main character, you run, jump, and shoot things through multiple different levels. There are a bunch of different guns and upgrades to choose from for all kinds of playstyles, from a machine gun to a super rocket launcher to a gun that shoots rubber ducks. Cave Story might not look like it, but it's a pretty long game. A regular playthrough will take you up to 6 hours, and to add to that, there are 3 possible endings that can vary greatly, so it's a game best played multiple times through. Cave Story is certainly tons of fun, and I would highly recommend you to pick it up right now. Also, it's been ported to Steam, DSiWare, WiiWare, the 3DS eShop, and even a physical release on the 3DS. Or you could just download it for free. Whatever, man. Just play it! Super Meat Boy has easily become one of the most popular indie games of the last 5 years. Meat Boy has become an icon to represent how popular indie games can be and how much potential these indie developers have. Speaking of Meat Boy, in this game you play as, well, Meat Boy, who is a boy that has no skin. Your goal is to save your girlfriend Bandage Girl from Dr. Fetus, who is trying to kidnap her and whatnot. The game is a hardcore platformer game, certainly not for the faint of heart. The game's difficulty ramps up after the first world, but it's never unfairly hard. It's always just hard enough to be infuriating, but still fun. So many people have already mentioned and gone over why Super Meat Boy is such an amazing game. I just can't even do it justice. Just buy it because not only is it a fantastic game available on Xbox, macOS, Windows, and Linux, it's a perfect symbol for everything indie games can accomplish. Also, go watch Indie Game the Movie because they follow the developers of this game and some other games, and it's really cool. Also, Phil Fish is crazy and awesome, even though he didn't make this game. Just watch the movie.
I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna fucking murder that guy.
Loadout is a third-person shooter available on PC and the PS4, and it's free. There you go. That's all I need to know. Have fun. Alright, so it's free, so I really shouldn't have to convince you to at least download it and give it a shot, unless your hard drive is full. Then, in that case, delete some of that porn! Alright, so Loadout is a multiplayer third-person shooter with cool guns and character customization. Think of Borderlands 2 meets Team Fortress 2, and Loadout is essentially their beautiful love child. So, in Loadout, there are 4 different gun classes and a ton of different upgrades to the point where you can have some crazy combinations like remote-controlled healing rockets or a flaming laser sniper. The game is fun, funny, and great to play with friends. And if you don't have friends, then I don't know, just play it alone. But get some friends, it helps. There are 6 awesome different game modes, including a kill-confirmed style deathmatch, a collection-based game mode, a King of the Hill-esque mode, capture the flag, another King of the Hill mode, and a mode that combines all of them together. Also, there's a campaign, but I don't know, I really haven't played it yet, but it looks pretty cool. Considering it's completely free, and the only microtransactions are completely unnecessary, I would highly recommend freeing up some space on the old HDD and downloading this bad boy ASAP. Game Dev Tycoon is exactly what it sounds like. You play as a kid in a garage getting started in the video game industry in the early 1980s. Your job is to make video games, make money, and gain fans. The plan is to make video games and eventually grow into a large-scale business. One of the coolest things about this game is being able to develop whatever kind of game you want, from a werewolf-themed rhythm game to a detective shooter on the Commodore 64. You travel all through time, from the early days of PC gaming all the way to the future generation of consoles that don't even exist yet. You go through a very simple development process of games, simply picking the genre, topics, engine, and release platforms, and using various sliders to determine the content of your games. While your games are being developed, you will gain points in certain attributes such as design and technology. You will also gain research points to spend on researching new video game genres and topics. Once your game is finished, you'll get back reviews and it will then hit the market and you'll see where it goes in terms of sales. Eventually, you can make enough money in games to move into larger offices, build an empire, and become a true AAA game developer. The game's pretty cheap on Steam and it's some of the most fun I've had with a Tycoon game in a long time. I would seriously consider picking it up at any price range. If you told me you've never heard of Garrys Mod, well, I honestly wouldn't believe you. Garrys Mod may be one of the most overplayed games on all of YouTube, only behind Minecraft and Five Nights at Freddy's. Anyway, Garrys Mod is a mod of Valve's Source engine, which all of Valve's games run on. Garrys Mod is a game developed by Facepunch Studios. It's not really a game, it's, like I said, a modification of the Source engine, but it still costs $10, so whatever. The appeal to Garrys Mod is all of the different types of game modes, from a game where you play as a terrorist and need to kill terrorists that aren't really terrorists, to a game where you have to blow people up with melons. The variety in Garrys Mod is unbelievable. There are serious minigames, stupid minigames, scary minigames, and they're all tons of fun. Garrys Mod is a true melting pot of video game genres and it's amazingly fun to play. Like I said before, this game costs $10 on Steam and it's totally worth the money. Battleblock Theater is a game developed by the Behemoth, the same company that made Castle Crashers, another fantastic indie game. But unlike Castle Crashers, Battleblock Theater is a puzzle platformer. You play as a prisoner on an island full of cats, going through various levels in the forms of theaters. Your main goal is to go through all of the stages and save your friends from the cats and Hattie Haddington. Battleblock Theater has easily become not only one of my favorite indie games, but one of my favorite video games of all time. The game is an amazingly fun and hilarious platformer with just the right amount of difficulty to leave you angry, but still laughing the whole way through. The best thing to do is play co-op with a buddy and traverse through the game together. Battleblock Theater is normally $15 on Steam, but it goes on sale quite often, so you can just wait if you want it cheap. Also, you can get it on Xbox, but, you know, PC Master Race and all that good stuff. Also, as a side note, the narration is fantastic and Will Stamper is amazing.
Hattie was like king friend of Friendship Kingdom, best friend to one and all, and the walking definition of handsome gentleman. What fantastic wonders would they discover this time? Perhaps they'd come across a scary ghost ship. Perhaps they'd find an island made entirely of candy. Perhaps they'd meet a band of scary, swashbuckling pirates, and join forces to find an island made entirely of candy.
Terraria has become one of my most played games on Steam, and well deservedly. Terraria is a game unlike any other. This game is a 2D sandbox style video game, very similar mechanically to Minecraft. You spawn in an open world and from there it's your job to survive, however that may be. Terraria, although being over 3 years old, is still receiving updates to this day. These updates add new bosses, new items, and even entirely new mechanics. Speaking of bosses, there are tons of them. The game has so much content that I don't even know how to explain it. You play through the game, explore, and defeat bosses. There are 7 in a regular mode playthrough, but after you defeat the Wall of Flesh, you go into hard mode where you can play the game all over again with more ores to find and enemies to slay. It might sound repetitive, but hard mode is just as fun as the first time playing through regular mode. There are 6 more bosses to kill that are hard mode exclusive, and then there are 5 special bosses that only spawn with certain conditions. There's not much else to say, but I did an entire let's play of regular mode with my friend, so if you want to see that and all of its low quality goodness, click away. Terraria is $10 on Steam, but I've seen it on sale for as low as $1, so if you want to wait, that's cool, but just buy it sometime. It's really freaking good. And even if you don't have a PC, it's available on PS3, Xbox 360, PS Vita, Windows Phone, Android, iOS, PS4, Xbox One, and the Kindle Fire. So no matter what, you pretty much have no excuse not to get this game. The Binding of Isaac found a way to wiggle its sick, distorted head right into my heart. The Binding of Isaac is a dungeon-crawling roguelike with tons of action. You play as a little boy named Isaac, running away from his murderous mother into his basement. You travel through multiple floors, fighting rooms full of grotesque beasts, and then fight bosses at the end of each floor. Once at the end, you face your mother herself, and when she's defeated, you're done, right? No, that's not how it works. You play again and again, and you just get hooked in until you kill your mom, some demons, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, the 7 deadly sins, your mom's insides, an unborn fetus, and even Satan himself. Yeah, this game is pretty messed up. But that's not the game we're talking about. We're talking about The Binding of Isaac's remake, The Binding of Isaac Rebirth. Rebirth is everything the original Isaac should have been. It runs much more smoothly, it has a nice pixel art style, and there's tons more content. You thought the first Binding of Isaac had a lot to do? Ha. Binding of Isaac Rebirth has easily over 50 hours of gameplay mashed into this tiny, cute little game. So if that's not enough convincing for you, well, sorry. That's about all I got. Before we look at my favorite indie game on Steam, let's take a look at some of the honorable mentions that didn't quite make the list. Yes, I had to show that entire thing, because it's amazing. Awesomenauts is a 2D battle arena style game developed by Ronimo Games. It features MOBA style gameplay similar to League of Legends or Dota, but in a 2D game. This makes it completely unique and unlike anything else available. The game features 2 teams, each containing 3 players, each player being a different Awesomenaut, of which there are about 20 now and more consistently coming out. The goal is to push through the lanes, destroy the turrets, and get to the enemy's base and destroy their solar collector. The gameplay is fun, addictive, and awesome. Gameplay consists of basic MOBA characteristics such as killing minions spawning from both sides, collecting currency in the form of solar, and buying upgrades and items. You level up out of game, which unlocks more upgrades as you level up. There's a simple ranking system, 9 being the lowest rank and 1 being the highest, and your rank will fluctuate depending on your skill level in the games you play. All in all, Awesomenauts is an amazing game, amazing enough that it can be considered my favorite indie game on Steam.